Have you ever wondered why certain cars never leave our imagination, no matter how many decades pass? Some vehicles are more than machines. They carry a story, a memory, and even a piece of our identity. The Volkswagen Beetle is one of those rare cars that has lived in the hearts of millions, not just as a mode of transport, but as a cultural symbol. And now, in 2026, this legend is being reimagined in a way that blends memory with futuristic innovation. Stay with me until the end of this video, because you'll see how the new Beetle is not just another electric vehicle, but a car designed to connect deeply with human emotions and reshape what driving means in the modern world. To understand why the return of the Beetle matters so much, we need to take a step back. The original Beetle was never about power or luxury. It was about simplicity, reliability, and charm. First produced in the late 1930s, and later mass-adopted in the 1950s and 60s, the Beetle became a symbol of freedom, accessibility, and individuality. People bought it not because it was the fastest or the flashiest, but because it spoke to something deeper inside the human mind, the desire for belonging, for authenticity, and for an object that felt alive in its own way. Psychologists often call this the personification effect, where humans naturally attach human-like traits to objects that show character. The Beetle's round headlights looked like eyes, its curved shape felt like a friendly face, and suddenly it was more than a car, it was a companion. This psychological bond explains why the Beetle was loved across cultures. In America, it became the car of the counterculture generation, rebelling against big, heavy gas guzzlers with something small, quirky, and humble. In Europe, it represented practicality and resilience. In Latin America and Asia, it was a workhorse that symbolized durability. No matter where it went, people saw themselves reflected in it. That is a rare phenomenon in the automotive world. Most cars fade into history as styles change. The Beetle never did. And this is where Volkswagen's decision for 2026 becomes fascinating. Car companies do not just design vehicles,
They design experiences that must align with deep-seated psychological triggers.
nostalgia is one of the strongest forces in human decision-making. According to research in psychology, nostalgia activates the brain's reward system by connecting us to positive memories of the past, giving us comfort during uncertain times. When people see a modernized Beetle, they are not just looking at a car. They are seeing their childhood. They are remembering a family trip, a first drive, or the car that sat on posters in their room. Volkswagen knows this. By reviving the Beetle, they are not only selling a vehicle, they are selling memory, familiarity, and a bridge between generations. But there's a deeper reason this works so powerfully on car lovers. Unlike buying clothes or gadgets, buying a car is tied to identity. Research shows that people project their personality onto the cars they drive. Extroverts prefer bold, noticeable vehicles. Introverts lean toward reliable, understated models. People who value tradition often choose brands with long histories. The Beetle fits into this psychology perfectly because it carries a unique duality. On one hand, it is deeply traditional. Everyone recognizes it instantly. On the other hand, it is deeply individualistic. It has always been seen as the car of free spirits, rebels, and dreamers. That combination makes it irresistible. Now think about this. In an era where cars are increasingly blending into each other, sleek, digital, aerodynamic, many consumers secretly crave distinction. They don't just want efficiency. They want something that feels personal, something that turns heads and sparks conversations. The Beetle has always done this. Without being loud or aggressive, it makes people smile when they see it. Psychologists call this the emotional contagion effect, the idea that emotions can transfer through objects and symbols. The Beetle, with its playful design, spreads joy, and joy is a powerful motivator for purchase. As Volkswagen prepares the 2026 model, they are leaning into this emotional psychology more than ever. They understand that bringing back a legend is not only about design or technology, it is about storytelling. And stories stick to the human brain far longer than specifications or data points. When someone chooses a Beetle, they're not only buying horsepower or battery range, they're buying into a narrative of history, renewal, and timeless charm. Here's why this matters for you as a car lover. The automotive world is entering a new phase, dominated by electric platforms, AI-assisted driving, and sustainability. Many people fear that cars are losing their soul, turning into cold machines that feel the same. But the Beetle's comeback proves that psychology still drives design. A car can be futuristic and still feel alive. It can run silently on electric motors while still speaking to your emotions. And when you sit behind the wheel of something with a legacy like the Beetle, you are not just driving, you are reconnecting with decades of human history, while stepping into the future at the same time. That is why this first look at the 2026 Beetle is not simply about specs. It's about a vision, a reminder that cars are not just about movement, but about meaning. And as we move deeper into this video, I'll reveal how the futuristic design, technology, and emotional connection of this model will set it apart from every other EV on the road. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll see why the Beetle's rebirth is one of the most important moves in automotive history. When people hear about the new Beetle, the first thought is often, what will it look like? That reaction is not superficial. It is rooted in psychology. Human beings are hardwired to respond emotionally to shapes, lines, and proportions. We form judgments in fractions of a second, long before logic steps in. This is why design has always been central to the Beetle's identity. And for 2026, Volkswagen has taken this to a new level, blending retro familiarity with futuristic aesthetics in a way that speaks directly to both memory and imagination. The most striking part of the Beetle has always been its curves. Unlike boxy sedans or sharp-edged sports cars, the Beetle carried a roundness that felt approachable, even friendly. Psychologists explain this through rounded contour preference. Studies in visual perception show that humans naturally associate curved shapes with safety and warmth, while sharp edges trigger caution because they resemble threats in nature. This explains why people often describe the Beetle as cute, friendly, or charming. Volkswagen knows this instinctive response is priceless, and in the 2026 version, they preserve the iconic rounded silhouette while refining it with sleek aerodynamic lines. The result is a car that feels both familiar and futuristic, like a friend who has grown up, evolved, yet stayed true to their essence. Lighting design plays a critical role in how humans emotionally connect with vehicles. Think of headlights as the eyes of a car. They create a sense of personality. The original Beetle's round headlights made it look expressive, even cartoon-like. For 2026, Volkswagen keeps the rounded inspiration but integrates it with LED and laser light technology, producing a clean, modern glow that suggests intelligence and sophistication. From a psychological perspective, light conveys vitality. People instinctively associate illumination with life and energy. By modernizing the Beetle's eyes, Volkswagen is giving it a futuristic soul without erasing the traits people loved before. The interior is equally shaped by psychology. Step inside, and instead of cluttered buttons or overcomplicated dials, the 2026 Beetle embraces minimalism. Cognitive psychology tells us that clutter increases mental load, creating stress and decision fatigue. A clean, simplified environment reduces anxiety and enhances focus. That is why tech companies, from Apple to Tesla, have adopted minimalist design. Volkswagen applies the same principle here, with an interior that feels calm, balanced, and intuitive. Large digital displays merge with subtle tactile controls, creating a harmony between modern technology and human-centered usability. For drivers, this design is not just about aesthetics. It directly impacts how comfortable and in control they feel. Color choices further deepen the emotional connection. While many modern EVs lean towards sterile palettes of silver, black, or white, Volkswagen understands that the Beetle must remain playful. Psychology of color shows that bright hues like yellow, turquoise, and red evoke joy, energy, and individuality. The 2026 Beetle brings back vibrant options while still offering refined, understated tones for those who prefer elegance. This range allows people to express themselves through their car, a crucial factor, because self-expression is one of the main reasons individuals grow attached to vehicles. But design is not only about the visual, it's about the tactile and sensory experience. Research in consumer psychology reveals that touch creates deeper attachment than sight alone. People remember textures and surfaces because of how they make them feel. Volkswagen pays attention to this by using sustainable yet premium materials inside the cabin. Soft-touch fabrics, recycled leather alternatives, and ergonomic finishes that make every interaction pleasant. This is not accidental. When you rest your hand on the steering wheel or run your fingers along the dashboard, you are engaging in micro-moments of bonding. These details shape how much pride and satisfaction you feel as an owner. Another fascinating aspect is how Volkswagen integrates aerodynamics into beauty. In the past, curves were about personality. Today, they are also about efficiency. The 2026 Beetle's sculpted body reduces drag, extending battery range. But here's the psychological twist. People are more likely to value sustainable efficiency when it looks appealing. Studies on consumer behavior show that aesthetic pleasure increases willingness to adopt new technologies. By merging eco-friendly design with an attractive shape, Volkswagen makes sustainability feel desirable, not like a sacrifice. For car lovers, there's also the unspoken bond between design and performance. While the Beetle has never aimed to be a supercar, its futuristic look subtly communicates agility and modern capability. The wide stance, smooth lines, and aerodynamic roofline suggest stability and speed without aggression. This taps into a principle known as embodied cognition, where the way an object looks shapes the way we expect it to behave. A car that looks balanced and purposeful makes the driver anticipate confidence on the road. That anticipation itself enhances satisfaction long before the car even moves. Inside, ambient lighting transforms the driving experience in ways many don't consciously realize. Research shows that light influences mood and perception of space. The Beetle's customizable ambient lighting allows drivers to set tones that match their emotional state: calming blues, energizing reds, or sophisticated whites. This creates a subtle psychological feedback loop. The environment responds to you, and in return, you feel more connected to the car. It's personalization on an emotional level, not just a technical one. The fusion of retro cues with futuristic detail is not just design, it's identity engineering. Volkswagen is positioning the Beetle as a bridge between eras. Psychologically, this balance matters because people resist extremes. Too much change feels alienating. Too little change feels stagnant. The 2026 Beetle finds the middle path, offering just enough familiarity to comfort the heart while introducing enough novelty to excite the mind. This balance is why it feels timeless. In the end, design is not about impressing the eye alone. It is about shaping how people feel every time they see, touch, and enter the car. The 2026 Beetle understands this better than most modern vehicles. It is not trying to be another cold machine. It is crafted to be an emotional experience, a reminder that cars can still have personality in a future filled with uniform electric shells. And that personality, rooted in curves, colors, light, and texture, is what will make drivers fall in love with it all over again. The design of the 2026 Beetle captures the heart at first glance, but the true test of a modern car lies in its technology. What makes this model stand out is not simply that it is electric or packed with digital systems, but that every feature feels designed with the human mind in focus. Technology often risks becoming cold and mechanical, yet here it becomes intuitive, responsive, and even emotional. This is where psychology and engineering meet to create something more than transportation, a driving experience that feels alive. At the center of this transformation is the electric platform. Silence is one of the most striking aspects of an EV, and it carries psychological weight. For decades, drivers associated power with noise. The roar of an engine was linked to strength and excitement. But research into cognitive associations reveals that silence creates a different kind of pleasure. It brings calm, focus, and a sense of smooth control. In the Beetle, the near-silent ride shifts the emotional state of the driver. It reduces stress, allows conversations to flow naturally, and creates an atmosphere of ease. For city driving, where noise is constant, this quietness feels almost therapeutic. Then comes the intelligent driving assistance. Adaptive cruise control, lane-keeping systems, and AI-assisted safety are not just conveniences. They address deep psychological needs, the need for safety, control, and confidence. Human beings are wired to seek mastery over their environment, yet also to avoid danger. Too much effort in driving can create fatigue, while too much automation can create distrust. The Beetle's approach strikes a balance. Features like semi-autonomous driving reduce the burden on long trips but still keep the driver engaged. Psychologists describe this as the optimal zone of control, where people feel supported but not replaced. It enhances trust in the car while preserving the satisfaction of being the one behind the wheel. Personalization takes this further. The 2026 Beetle can adapt to driver preferences, from seat position and climate settings to driving modes and entertainment. This is not just a technical trick. It is a way of reinforcing identity. Behavioral psychology shows that when objects adapt to us, we feel valued. The car becomes less of a tool and more of a partner. Imagine stepping inside, and the cabin remembers your favorite driving playlist, adjusts the lights to your mood, and aligns the mirrors to your exact preference. These micro-adjustments may seem small, but they form an emotional loop of recognition. It feels like the car knows you. That sense of familiarity strengthens attachment, just as people bond with environments that reflect their personality. Sustainability is another cornerstone of this Beetle, and its importance goes far beyond fuel efficiency. Studies in moral psychology highlight that people feel pride when their actions align with their values. Driving an eco-friendly car does not just save money, it creates a sense of responsibility and self-respect. For many, owning a sustainable vehicle signals identity. I care about the future. I care about the planet. The Beetle taps into this by combining charm with responsibility. Unlike sterile eco-cars that feel more like statements than companions, this model blends joy with conscience. Owners do not just feel practical, they feel proud. That pride amplifies loyalty to the car because it aligns lifestyle with values. Connectivity adds yet another layer. The Beetle's digital system integrates seamlessly with devices, navigation, and online services. But what matters most is not the technology itself. It is the psychological effect of staying connected without distraction. Humans crave both autonomy and linkage. Too much isolation creates unease, while too much connectivity creates overload. Volkswagen engineers have designed interfaces that are intuitive, reducing the need for constant adjustment. Voice controls allow natural interaction, which taps into cognitive ease, the brain's preference for tasks that require minimal effort. Instead of feeling like you're operating a machine, you feel like you're having a conversation. That conversational aspect strengthens the sense of companionship with the car. Energy management also plays a role in emotional satisfaction. Range anxiety is a real psychological barrier to EV adoption. By equipping the Beetle with longer range and smart charging options, Volkswagen addresses this fear directly. Fear limits decision-making, while confidence expands it. When drivers know their vehicle will take them where they need to go without worry, their sense of freedom grows. Freedom is one of the strongest motivators in human behavior, and the Beetle channels that by turning uncertainty into assurance. Sound design within the cabin further enhances the human connection. While the ride is quiet, subtle artificial sounds are integrated for safety and comfort. Research in auditory psychology shows that sound influences emotional state more than most people realize. Gentle chimes, soft alerts, and immersive audio systems create a sense of presence and orientation. They prevent the silence from feeling empty, instead making it feel intentional and secure. This balance between silence and sound mirrors the balance between technology and humanity. Even charging has been designed to feel less like a chore and more like an integrated lifestyle. With fast charging capabilities and smart scheduling, drivers can plan with ease. But the psychological touch is in how these systems communicate. Clear feedback, simple visuals, and progress indicators reduce uncertainty. Humans dislike ambiguity, clarity creates comfort. By providing reassurance at every stage, from plugging in to completing a charge, the Beetle removes small anxieties that could otherwise accumulate. All of these features, from AI assistance to personalization and eco-integration, share one purpose: to make technology feel less mechanical and more human. People do not fall in love with machines because of raw specifications. They fall in love because those machines make them feel something: safe, capable, proud, or understood. The 2026 Beetle embraces this truth. It does not overwhelm with complexity, but instead builds trust through simplicity, responsiveness, and alignment with human needs. In a world where cars risk becoming indistinguishable gadgets on wheels, this approach stands out. The Beetle proves that technology can serve psychology. It can be advanced yet approachable, smart yet emotional. And that is why, for so many who will see or sit inside it, this car will not just be remembered as a machine of the future, but as a companion that speaks the language of the human heart. Technology may shape how a car performs, but emotion decides whether a car becomes unforgettable. The 2026 Beetle succeeds because it does not stop at design or features. It reaches into something deeper: the human desire for connection, identity, and meaning. Cars have always been more than machines. They are symbols of freedom, personality, and belonging. And a new Beetle positions itself not just as a vehicle for the road, but as a companion for the soul. Psychologists often describe cars as extensions of self-image. What people drive communicates who they are and how they want to be seen. A luxury sedan may signal success, while a rugged SUV may project adventure. The Beetle has always stood apart because it does not rely on power or prestige. It speaks to authenticity. It tells the world that the driver values character over convention, personality over conformity. That message is timeless. In 2026, this message is amplified. Driving the Beetle becomes less